Hello folks, today we will ask and answer one big question. Are fans of Warhammer 40,000 ungrateful? I know, controversial. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. Please head on over there and subscribe, hit that button to make sure we can get towards our 16,000 subscriber target by the end of the year. That would be amazing. We're only a few hundred away now, 120, so if you want to be one of the dauntless few that gets us there, now is the time to subscribe. Let's jump straight in to the video, shall we? Because I don't have a lot of time today. I'm doing this in between two lessons today, both of which are on Hadrian's Wall. So I want to jump out of my nearest window, because if I read one more essay about that damn wall, I'm going to claw my eyes out. Okay. Are Warhammer fans ungrateful? I know, controversial in the extreme. On this channel, we like to give honest opinions on the phenomena that surrounds the hobby in general, right? In this, Games Workshop do sometimes get a bit of a kicking. Let's be honest, most of the time, it is completely earned and justified as kickings go. The thing is, as you know, I speak a lot to those still working in the sphere of Games Workshop or those who have left over recent years. And their attitudes seem to be the same, in that most of them say or believe to a certain extent that Warhammer 40k fans are, for the most part, ungrateful. Before we climb into them and start grabbing our pitchforks, let's hear what their arguments actually are. I asked the Brain Trust over the last few days to give me some advice on this phenomenon, because it keeps coming up in our conversations. People, most of the stories I hear from them that they ask me not to put on Hobby Nightmares are ones about customers and about fans coming in, and they can't have them be on the channel because there are too many descriptors in the stories and people will kind of be doxed, which is fine. But at the same time, I wanted to get to the root cause of why Games Workshop managers, or certain ones at least, most of them from my point of view, tend to have a very dim view of the wider fan base. I know. I did a video on this quite a while ago, but it never got around to ungrateful. You know what I mean? It was only in the hardships of running a store. That's the way that I approached the problem last time. This time, are we ungrateful for the good stuff that we get, and do Games Workshop deserve better from us? Let's hear from John, an ex-Games Workshop manager living in Glasgow. And I quote, I'm not going to do a Scottish accent, and I quote, "I'd get a lot of customers who saw me as a kind of spokesperson for every Games Workshop decision ever. Let me tell you about the barren years of releases for Sisters of Battle. They were not fun. It would happen all the time. People complaining about not being able to collect Sisters beyond a really expensive set of boxes that we didn't even carry in store. What is worse is that all of those models we did sell on the website were metal and looked and felt really outdated when combined with newer releases. You've got to remember that whenever a new release came out, we had to put it in front and centre of the store. So, when Space Marines got an update for the 7th time that year, you would get a lot of vitriol from gamers who wanted different things. The thing is, when the head office listened and produced Sisters of Battle, do you think I, as a manager, got any positive feedback for having them in the store front and centre? Nope. Just silent pre-orders, about times, eye-rolling and general grumbling that the rules of Sisters of Battle were way underpowered for people who have waited so long for their models. People even told me the Paragon warsuits looked trash, and they don't. And all of that ungratefulness just really got to me. I understand it took a long time to get there, but they did listen in the end." Unquote. Alright. There's a few points to make on what John has said here. I don't disagree with a lot of what he said, but there are a few things that I want to pick him up on here. The first is that Games Workshop may have listened, but they took decades in doing so. It took a long time, and a complete change, not in ownership, but in management, completely, to start the wheels rolling on advancement and getting in Sisters of Battle that are plastic, that are really nice sets to play with, right? It took a long time, and let's be honest, a major shift in the direction of the company's trajectory that caused Sisters of Battle to finally be released to the public. I was around for these years, in the hobby and, to a lesser extent, working for Games Workshop. This went on for so long. There were so many people out there who just wanted some models to play with, and they were ignored at every turn. So I don't really think we can hold a pitchfork up to the fans and say, you're so ungrateful, when they were made to wait that long for something that, let's be honest, is kind of simple to do, right? Because the second that Games Workshop did not do this, right, in my opinion, out of the goodness of their own hearts, right, they saw a gap in the market, they created and filled it. And the second they did, they started raking in a copious amounts of money. The fact that they didn't do this for so long, despite how obvious a large gap in their own market it was to have Sisters of Battle there, should speak to the incompetency that has been the decision-making process at Games Workshop at times over the years. I don't think it really speaks to the ungratefulness of Warhammer fans. Now, their reaction to it, yes, I can certainly see why you would be embittered by this. Especially because, here's one thing I really wanted to smack home. Please, a lot of you know this channel and you know what I'm about to say. If you go to a Games Workshop store, please do not harangue and harass the manager of the store into trying to get the models that you want to be stocked. It's not up to him. It's not up to him what Games Workshop do. It's not up to him what they bring out and what they don't. And it's not up to him what state the models are going to be in when they're on the shelf. That is not the guy you want to be having a go at. That's some guy being paid just above minimum wage to sit in a store all day and deal with Warhammer fans. Would you do that for just above minimum wage? A few of you would, because, you know, you're blinded by, I want to work for Games Workshop, like most of us are. But a lot of you who have decent jobs will go, hell no, I don't want to deal with that. Well, he is dealing with that. And the last thing he needs is you going in there and you harassing him over models that he does or does not have in stock. Okay? It's not his fault. It's not John's fault down the road if there are no Sisters of Battle in the store because Games Workshop don't want to bring them out yet. He can't just pick up the phone to Games Workshop and tell them what's what. Ain't how it works, I'm afraid, alright? It shouldn't need saying. It shouldn't need saying, but I think a lot of the bitterness that is ingrained in a lot of Games Workshop managers comes from the fact that people see the t-shirt and think, ah, you're the enemy. No. If there's one person in this entire setup of Games Workshop who is kind of on your side, it's the staff at Games Workshop and the managers at Games Workshop. It doesn't always come across in our Hobby Nightmares, I know, because, you know, there are a lot of mentaloids out there who like to drag down the opinions and reputations of everybody else by their own behaviour. But most Games Workshop managers and most staff are on your side. And bear in mind, most of the issues you have with GW, they will have as well. Do you know why? Because they're hobbyists too. Do you really think a guy who gets 50% off of all of his purchases doesn't want you Sisters of Battle? Of course he does. He's on your side. But he can't change anything. So in black and white, yes, the fans asked for something in this situation and they got it and then complained. I do also think that a lot of the time there is a traction in slamming Games Workshop on mediums like YouTube. Negativity leads to more clicks. People get a lot of catharsis out of watching Games Workshop dragged over the coals by their favourite YouTube voices. Hell, I have even been a beneficiary of this over the years. The thing is, I try to go after Games Workshop constructively and when they have actually done something wrong. I don't throw clickbait titles and thumbs at you as if Games Workshop has committed some sort of cardinal sin by just existing. When they do wrong, they are called out, but if there are things Games Workshop does right, they're also called out for getting things right, and sometimes they do, right? Bringing out Sisters was one of them. Their models, let's be honest, in terms of what they do right, are the best in the business beyond mold lines. You are always going to have mold lines in models, but you can hide them quite easily. Games Workshop choose not to out of sheer laziness. But the lore of 40k is also rich and deep, and probably one of the most fully realised sci-fi settings ever made. The openness of Games Workshop to have dialogue with its fanbase is also laudable. Absolutely. They deserve a pat on the back for that. Do you remember the dark days when we heard nothing at all times? We were treated for decades with a kind of wanton disdain by Games Workshop, and there was a clear line of separation between them and us. In fact, that attitude was still a thing at Games Workshop when I was working there, and I was working there right at the start of the more open era of Games Workshop on social media, right? So I saw the genesis of that, and I saw it start to have fruit and to happen, right in front of me. But a lot of the attitudes of Games Workshop at that time were most definitely them and us. We don't like the unwashed masses. You know, all they do is complain. All they have to say to us is negativity. So if all they have to say is negativity, why would we let that in here? And I think a very, very, very few intelligent people at Games Workshop turned around and said, well, why don't we listen to a few of these voices, and we'll see if most of them go away. You know, let's bring back Sisters of Battle. Let's bring back squats. Let's make sure that a lot of our product lines are being updated with every new edition of Warhammer 40k, and let's see if they're still around. Unfortunately, it seems to me, at least from people who are still working at Games Workshop, that hasn't really changed. They're still getting a lot of vitriol, and I think a lot of people are starting to pull back on being so open with the community for that reason. In recent years, their communications between them and us have changed. At the start, we were getting lots of memes, even from Games Workshop, which is not what I want to see, but it still was something different. And when somebody said, can I see the new Chaos Codex to them, the official Warhammer Facebook page, I think it was, they gave him a picture of the Dark Angels Codex. He said, here you go, you know, we found one for you. That's funny, right? That's a really cool joke that Games Workshop did with their fan base. A wink and a nudge. Nicely done. I really like that kind of communication, right? That's cool. And back in the day, when things first started turning that way, and they started talking to us, we were seeing a lot of that. A lot of real people working in the community outreach team, talking like real people, and having fun with us. In recent years, though, that's changed. Mainly, I think, because of the vitriol they continue to get thrown at them. Games Workshop started opening up and talking to us on social media and other places, which was great. The issue here is that the more time has gone on, the more Games Workshop have gotten better, quote-unquote, at this practice. What do I mean? You hear less from actual people at Games Workshop and more from corporate drones and boilerplate disclaimers. When was the last time you read something from Games Workshop social media that actually sounded like it was written by a real person? That is exactly my point. They settled into making their interactions with us cold and corporate because that's safer, which flies against what they wanted to do in the first place. Again, they gave the fans what they wanted in black and white, yes, more communication, but it is a poisoned chalice. And a real shame, in my opinion. Mark, originally from Brighton, Games Workshop manager currently, says, and I quote, "Alright mate, thanks for reaching out." No problem, man. "To be honest, I have to bring in the Leagues of Votan into this conversation and my bad experience with them. My god, was that a time of salt. Like this was something relegated to memes and funny quotes from old 40k lore. People may have secretly wanted squats, but nobody actually thought they would get them. then bang, right out of nowhere, they are revealed and then released. But what do we get as Games Workshop managers? Constant moaning about the codex being broken, and it was, to be fair, and constant whining over the state of models being too like AdMech, quote unquote. Like, you could literally give these people a pot of gold and they'd complain it was heavy. We even had people giving apologies for getting the codex wrong on YouTube. Straight from the company. At first from the company. And all they got from our fan base was ridicule. I remember the internal memos. The absolute vitriol that they got was beyond the pale. Fuck that. That really soured me on a big part of our fan base, and I have to say, completely irritating at the time. I love the hobby and the people in it, but my god, I don't think any nerd fan base is as entitled as ours. Yeah, lots to unpack there, to say the very least. I mean, I completely get what you're saying, dude. And do you know what? This is the problem with Games Workshop managers. You're caught in the crossfire. Those guys at head office made a mistake in releasing Leagues of Votan Codex in the state that it was. But that wasn't your fault. But you're the person left holding the bag. You're the person who is being exposed to all of the nastiness and the pitchforks that are being stabbed at you, right? And the one time the studio team put their heads above the parapet and took it on the chin, they didn't just get, okay, thank you, please release a better codex next time, or please update this codex to be better. No. They got harassed for it. Go and look it up. You got Google there. Go and look at the people in that video and the stuff that they've got to say about what happened to them after that time. Constant harassment on Twitter, on the website, on their own corporate emails. People getting a hold of their emails and sending them nasty shit. Do you need that at your place of work? No. And I completely get what Mark is saying. In terms of the nerd space, I don't know. I think video games give you a run for your money. I mean, you know, there are some entitled fans in video games. Do you know what I mean? I think, here's the thing, Mark. Here's the thing, mate. I think nerddom as a whole has a problem with entitled people. I really do. I still, to this day, I do not understand the people who take time out of their day to write a negative comment on YouTube. I don't get that. I don't understand it. I don't understand how if you disagree with a YouTube video, you disagree, you click off of it, you click on another one, and you move on, right? But there are people out there who literally stop what they're doing in their day, and they type something to you. That's what got me over, you know, bad comments on YouTube, is realizing how pathetic that is. Like, you actually stopped out of your day just to kick somebody because they don't like agree with you or they see something you don't agree with. Instead of just moving on and being, you know, having a life that's, you know, full enough that you move on with things. You're too busy. I don't put negative comments on people's YouTube videos. I move on. I'm too busy. I'm just too busy. I have other things going on in my life. I can't be sitting here getting involved in other people's videos and putting negative comments on there. So I get what you're saying, Mark. I get what you're saying, right? The entitlement is real. Completely. I will never understand that mindset. I don't think. I will never understand the mindset of somebody who takes time out of their day to write a negative YouTube comment. Discussing stuff, fine. A positive comment, fine. You know what I mean? But imagine filling your world up with so much negativity that you take time out of your day to post something like that online, on somebody's video. I just don't understand it. And I don't think I ever will. And I think it's the same kind of people who harangue and harass Games Workshop managers and who harangue and harass people who are working the Games Workshop studio team and they got something wrong and then admitted it. It's the same mindset to me, right? It is exactly the same mindset. And again, I agree with you to a certain extent, Mark. I agree. It is bullshit and you shouldn't have to put up with it. But anyway. But I'm going to come down on the Games Workshop fan side a little bit here. Once again. So close your ears, Mark. You're not going to like this bit. Prices. You may say that they are very entitled, but I do not know of another fan base so completely taken advantage of and held hostage by one company like Games Workshop do to the wider wargaming hobby. Their prices are abysmal and they will never have a sale. Why? Because they see their product as bespoke and they think that having a sale devalues their product. Yeah. Does that sound retarded to you? Because it should. It should, but that's their official stance. That is the official stance of Games Workshop. But why they don't do sales. And also, why don't they advertise? For the same reason. They are a bespoke product and they shouldn't need to advertise. It's arrogance is what it is. Okay? It's arrogance and it's greed. Some of the prices of getting into the Games Workshop hobby are prohibitive to its very growth. And that, to me, is the unforgivable part of being a fan of Warhammer 40,000. That's unforgivable. If your prices are so bad that they put people off even getting into it in the first place, and all you sell are little toy soldiers that are, let's be honest, worthless to you, that's unforgivable. And I think a lot of fans have a right to hold you to a certain standard of behaviour if you charge these kind of prices. Now let's look at the model line for a bit. Very briefly. Guys, if you're not a Space Marine player, or if your army has not featured in the starter box set for the last 2 editions, when was the last time you got an update for your model line? I'll sit here, I'll wait, I'll have a cup of tea. Go ahead. Not all at once, do you know what I mean? Imperial Guard, maybe, slightly. Now and again, they'll get something. Okay? Orcs, you have the odd model here or there. Yeah, maybe. Tyranids for years, got nothing until Leviathan. Absolutely nothing. Necrons for years, got nothing. Dark Eldar look like a fucking joke. Literally a joke. That is 3rd edition models. 3rd edition models sold for £30 odd a box. It's insulting. Okay? Eldar have had a facelift, no problem there, but they are also one of the factions that Games Workshop loves. So, you know, is what it is. What I'm saying is that if you're not a part of the Imperium or Eldar, you are not seeing new releases for your models in any way, shape or form of the alacrity that you need to make sure that you're keeping up with the Joneses, as in keeping up with Space Marines and keeping up with Eldar. Every single... Games Workshop have the ability to do this as well. Every single model line should be up to snuff if you're charging these prices. But they're not, because of laziness and because of sheer disdain for the hobby base, for the fans. I think it's a toxic circle. Games Workshop act like dickheads. People disdain Games Workshop. People harass Games Workshop. Games Workshop hates the customers. Games Workshop act like dickheads. It's a big circle that goes round and round and round and round. Literally. All the time. That's where we are. Where do we break it? I don't know. This is what I'm putting to you as a Games Workshop fanbase who watch my videos. So, what do you guys think? Are we ungrateful? Are we really treated so badly? And if we are, how do you think we break this cycle of toxic behaviour from both sides of the fence? And who do you think is more at fault? Does the chicken come before the egg, so to speak? Are Games Workshop at fault for how they've treated us over the years? But I certainly am coming down on that side. Even though I'm friends with a lot of these managers, I'm coming down on the side of Games Workshop, being the ones who are in the wrong here, right? Or, do you see where they're coming from? I certainly do, right? Being alive, being here in life, is all about, absolutely, all about thinking plurally. in knowing two things are going on at the very same time. Yes, Games Workshop are acting like dickheads. Yes, they abuse their customer base quite a lot. But also, yes, the fan base react in ways that only engenders this kind of resentment from Games Workshop. Okay? I think it's at least 70-30, maybe 60-40. And Games Workshop being arseholes and everybody else reacting to it in a really, really, really bad way that perpetuates this vicious cycle of nonsense that we really need to break if we ever want this hobby to be mainstream. And I know there are a few of us out there who really don't want it to be mainstream. I get that completely. But I just think it'll be cool for Warhammer to take over the fucking world, dude. I think Henry Cavill's going to go doing a long way to do that with his Amazon series, I know. But it would be so cool, man. So cool to see this become a thing. Do you know what I mean? And to see the hobby explode. I would love it. Anyway, what do you guys think? Are we ungrateful? Are we really treated so badly? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'll be back tomorrow with some more hobby nightmares. I love you a long time. See you then. Have a good one. Bye now.